For 300 years, there has been a union between Scotland and England. However, this union is no longer benefiting Scotland, and as a result, Scotland should leave the United Kingdom and form its own nation. Scotland's economy, society, living standards, what the next generation faces, and Scotland's reputation in Europe are all currently hanging in the balance. For years, Scotland has been shunted to the side by a more powerful England, and their relationship is not an equal one. Scotland has been dominated by England for the past 300 years, and it has not been until recently, with Brexit as its catalyst, that has reopened the possibility of an independence referendum again occurring in Scotland. It was in 2014 that the last independence referendum took place. Scotland, however, chose to remain in the United Kingdom. 55% of Scots chose to stay. Therefore, what is known as the Better Together movement prevailed. The First Minister, Alex Salmond, believed that it would not be necessary for centuries, if not generations, to come that another referendum would take place. He believed that the Scottish people had spoken, and that was it. However, Salmond could not predict the impact that Brexit would cause on reopening the cries for Scottish independence. According to the BBC, many believe that the Scottish people made their decision in 2014, and this should be upheld. However, Brexit changes everything. A main reason why Scotland should leave the UK is because Scotland is being governed against their will. According to a professor here at Pitt State, Dr. Kyle Thompson, he states that 62% of Scots voted to remain in the EU. The majority party in Scotland, the SNP, has also lobbied for membership in the EU. He quotes, "The circumstance of Scotland being governed against its consent and forced into unsupported and opposed policy has helped to increase support for home rule and independence. It is not just an issue of wanting to remain in the European Union, but it is now a constitutional issue which has led and been a catalyst for Scottish independence." It comes down to the fact that Scotland is being forced to accept a policy that she did not vote for. Scotland did not vote to leave the European Union in Brexit. This feeling is not inherently new, as since the 1970s and 80s, Scotland has not had a good relationship with England. For example, the Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher, implemented a poll tax that was just implemented in Scotland and nowhere else in the United Kingdom. And the current Prime Minister, Theresa May, has completely ignored Scotland's disdain and is completely indifferent towards their feeling of isolation within the UK. For these reasons, Scotland should leave the United Kingdom. Another reason why Scotland should leave the UK is for economic reasons. US, China, and the EU all have some of the best economies in the world. However, if Brexit occurs and the UK leaves the European Union, they will no longer be considered having one of the best economies in the world. Therefore, it's imperative that Scotland stays in the EU, its good graces, and has this flourishing economy. It is also inevitable that if a no-deal Brexit is reached, the UK's economy could tank, and therefore this will also negatively impact Scotland. According to Carnell at The Guardian, the Scots in favor of independence believe Scotland need more stability now in their economy than the UK can offer them. In addition, Scotland has been pushed to the side of England for years. Independence would allow Scotland to establish their place in European politics and establish their economy. A no-deal Brexit would ultimately be an economic nightmare. Therefore, Scotland should become independent to avoid this nightmare. Scotland can have a much better future if they rid themselves of the chaos that has been UK politics. The sooner Scotland becomes independent, the better, according to the First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon. Scotland's economy, society, living standards, and the reputation of Scotland all depends on Scotland's independence and Brexit. Therefore, independence is necessary. A poll conducted by the Sunday Times Scotland found that a majority of Scots would now vote in favor of leaving the UK. And this majority increases in the chance that a no-deal Brexit is reached. Tony Blair, a former Prime Minister, believes a hard Brexit would push Scotland towards an independence referendum. Blair believes it will be because of a hard Brexit that would be the final straw in Scotland seceding from the UK. It is a result of Scotland having to adhere to policies which they did not vote for, a troubled economy, and Scotland's loyalty to the European Union, which has led to the renewed efforts towards an independent Scotland. It is crucial that Scotland not be governed by a nation that does not have her best interest at heart. And this is why it would be in Scotland's best interest to call for a referendum and leave the UK. We may not know what will happen in terms of Brexit, or if Scotland will indeed call for another referendum by 2021. But it is clear that since the 1970s, the relationship between England and Scotland has been rocky at best, which has resulted in Scotland's repeated insistence for independence, and why it is necessary for Scotland to call for another independence referendum.